Hello, everybody. Welcome here today to a wonderful, relaxing, yet hopefully beautiful session with Iain White of Crux. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. You've just blown my eardrums out, but other than that, I'm absolutely spot on, ready for the weekend.
You do, and you're looking in those designer glasses, as I said, very Michael Caine. So,
Thank you very
uh,
much.
Mr. Ishmael Herrera Lee, how are you doing, sir, of Talent Bridge today?
I'm very good, thank you, Simon. How are you?
I'm okay. Now you've led us astray a little bit because obviously normally you're living it up, as they say in South Africa, but you're back over here for a few days, are you?
I am indeed, yes. Yes, chasing the sun, as they
Doing,
say.
doing deals, all that sort of stuff. Okay, well look, guys, this is about a collaboration between Crux and this is your new part of the telemarketing business that you've been putting together over there, Talent Bridge. This new partnership, how did it come about?
Who are you asking?
I was hoping that one of you was going to be so excited you would jump in there and do it.
Let me. I suppose let me go first. I tend to talk too much, so let me go first, and I'll shut up. So, well, the first part is we had a need in our business to recruit.
Yeah.
And we decided that with the world changing as fast as it was, let's just not necessarily go straight headlong into the traditional route of finding somebody that comes and works in our office 9 till 6 and does their thing. And we had a very specific need in social media, and we had a very specific need in working certain databases to find candidates that were active.
Yeah.
And that job can be done remotely. And as a result of the ability for that job to be done remotely, we were looking at the quality of candidate we could get for the budget we had. And we were just hitting a buffer that, yeah, okay, either the budget was right or the person was right and the budget was wrong. We couldn't get the two to match. Right. So we've worked with Ish in other areas anyway. Ish is part of the ICG, so we're aware of what he's up to out in South Africa, and I know that you've hired people using the same solution. So we ended up hiring somebody into our business, or when I say hiring, it's the wrong word. We ended up contracting somebody through Ish.
Yeah.
Takes care of all the exchange rate, no NI to pay. It's a contract. There's no HR laws. I can give this person targets. I can manage them in the same way as if they were actually an employee. I can do everything I want to do, but I'm getting somebody that would probably, in all honesty, be a 50 to 60,000 pound resource, and I'm probably getting them for, I can't remember the exact amount. It's probably not fair to put it out, but it's probably half the cost in total.
Wow.
So they are half the cost, but twice the capability. And I don't have to do quite as much training with their life journey or bringing them into an understanding, because they're a little bit, they've been in the world, they've been out there doing their things, whereas my budget was leading me towards people at the younger end of the spectrum, where I was going to have to really get them to understand what I do and get them to understand what I wanted. And we're all very busy. So we dipped our toe in, and we liked it. So we're in the position of doing it more and more now. So we're expanding that piece through Ish's pool of talent that he's got sat there ready, willing, and able. But it also dawned on me that we started talking to clients and letting clients know, why just stop and consider your recruitment options. You've got, a number of options. Most people just rush out, stick the post on a job, employ the first person that comes along, live to regret it, pay a recruiter their fee, and off it goes. So we wanted to provide this solution into the estate agency and prop tech space where it's appropriate to do so.
Yeah.
And we've had some good success with it along with Ish. So it's gathering pace. I think the job roles need to be quite specific. The virtual assistant is obviously one. Social media we found to be quite successful. Prospecting itself, where if it's a specific task that doesn't require you to be in branch, think whether you need to go and spend the amount of money that you do, whether you need half a person, a full person, and whether it can be done in this way, and look at the options. And as a result of that, we wanted to offer that to our client base, and quite a few of them have taken it up, and some of them are now conceptualizing a complete restructure of their workforce to allow their key people to do the really important stuff,
Yeah.
rationalize their cost base, and then have the resource that Ish can provide through Crux, which is a cheaper cost, and then the savings they make put into either technology or higher wages to secure down the real talent, and allow that talent to be effective.
And thanks for that, Iain. That's useful to understand. And so it sounds like obviously you started with quite a distinct need, but from there you've realised how much they can do and broadened it out from there. Ish, obviously you've focused in the past at looking at really specialising in the prospecting arena on this. What led you to kind of bounce into these different areas? Was it just the demand kept coming back, or did you just see the opportunity?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Whaley. Yeah, I mean, I concur with everything Iain was mentioning earlier on, but what we found, especially sort of post-COVID, we were expecting, I think everyone was expecting there to be a flood to market of quality staff that were, following furlough ending, were going to be coming to the market. That kind of wasn't the case. What we ended up seeing was probably a 15 to 20% increase in basic wages, and a real sort of struggle in onboarding good quality staff. And my wife, she's originally from South Africa, and we've been going over there for many a year. It's always somewhere that I've has been close to my heart, but I knew from just the economic stance of South Africa at the moment, unemployment is extremely high. It is probably 45 to 50% against our 3 or 4%. And, the education system is very good out there. What you find is a lot of people, in the UK, for example, if you are an account manager or you work in the tech space, you generally stick in your, yes, you will progress your career, but you'll generally stick within the same industry or slightly within the same boundaries of what your skill set is. With South Africa, with jobs being few and far between, what you end up finding is you get really multi-skilled people that have done a multitude of roles in different sectors and different businesses. So, for example, Zane, who's working with Iain, she had a social media background. She had a bookkeeping and finance background. She had a recruitment background and a sales background. So it's very hard to find in the UK someone who is so well-rounded and has a multitude of skills that you can, slot into numerous elements of your business. And as we know, I'm a culprit of it myself, trying to delegate and, shift menial tasks over to staff members who, may be busy in their own right, can be challenging. But if you have a real cost-effective solution to then, support you either from a sort of a virtual assistant standpoint or administration standpoint or, or bookkeeping, whatever that may be, the fact is that we can supply that now at a very cost-effective rate. Our rates start from as little as £800 a month for a part-timer. That includes all of the onboarding, the HR, the tech setup. We even provide a telephone system for the team members, virtual team members. That's if the company doesn't have their own system that they want to use. But it's literally all, plug and play, month by month contracts. You're mitigating risky market conditions, which we're currently in at the moment, having retained staff members and having to go through that sort of HR and sort of employment process can be stressful. It can be, tie your hands somewhat. But with this service, it's click on, click off as and when required. And yeah, we went out initially to South Africa to recruit a team of sales staff to work for Prospect Engine. We went over there, we recruited 10 team members. We set up an office, and they overperformed really from what I was expecting. The difference between the UK and South Africa, although it's the other end of the world, culturally we are quite similar, in ways. And I think they sort of fit and slot into the UK sector really, really well. We've had fantastic success so far. with Iain and you and other agents and businesses in the UK. So, we ended up having our agents for Prospect Engine contact us and say, look, we love whoever that may be working on our account. Can we have more of them? And is there a way you can second them to us? Rather than it just being a prospecting service. And the answer was yes. And Talent Bridge we formed a few months ago, and it's going from strength to strength. And obviously we want to help. The nice thing about this is, we're not only helping UK businesses, but we're also helping people that may be less fortunate or have less opportunities than people in the UK to develop and progress their career. It's all about an ethical platform where everyone sees benefits along the way, not only the staff members but also the agents that we're placing those staff members into.
It's really interesting one, isn't it? Because it's essentially having the best of both worlds, isn't it? That flexibility with obviously the qualitative angle of it, and also obviously that the crucial point that Iain obviously highlighted there. You can't ignore the financials, and I think it's just happenstance, really, isn't it? Why it's working so well with so many UK businesses is the time differences is exactly the same, or is it just an hour difference?
So now our time difference at the moment. I mean, when our clocks go back, it's a 2-hour time difference. But that is, if you look at any other, English main language country, Australia, America, Canada, etc., your time zones are way off. So it just seemed like the natural step. We've worked a lot with other areas and other countries, the Philippines, for example. But we've always found that maybe the verbal side of that wasn't as on point as it could be. So South Africa just seemed like the natural step.
Yeah, and as you said, well, we've had Lauren who helped us out for some time as well, and she was absolutely fantastic. That rounded experience you highlighted before, I think, was one of the things that jumped out at me. If you could go out there and get, I suppose, Iain, going back to your Romans days, those fresh-faced lads that were very, very keen, but they had no worldly experience about them at all, did they? And so it took a while to get into that zone. These people already have that kind of nous, that ability to have conversational, constructive, dialogue with people is one of the most attractive things. And I think it's a really difficult one, is it? Because most people, most agents, most businesses struggle so much in this area, because actually if they're looking at recruiting internally, they want to be doubly sure that there is a real sustained demand. So actually what that can lead to is they're juggling too many balls, they're missing calls, whatever else it is there, because they want to make sure it's not just a blip of activity. And with this, you can relieve it straight away overnight without being tied into that, certainly if you're recruiting internally, massive, obviously, obligations, but even with other outsourced operations, you would be tied in for quite some time. So there's a real win-win on that basis, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, the other thing that's interesting is, first and foremost, I should say that the association that we formed means that the consumer, as in the business, won't pay any different whether they go to Talent Bridge or whether they come to us. So that's dealt with. We're providing a solution to our clients.
Yep.
They pay no more than if they went direct, because I wouldn't want people thinking that we were just creaming off the top. That's not how it works. But of course, it's yes, we charge for the service, but not any more than they would charge if they went direct. But I think the other thing that we've noticed, the estate agency industry is having to reimagine itself to re-put its margins back in place anyway. And we are absolutely seeing a shift to outsourcing, and we are seeing a shift to rationalizing of branch network for those networks that have got multi-branches. And we are seeing agencies moving towards better quality but fewer staff, enabled by technology and or outsourced suppliers, or both. And this fits into that piece where a lot of the heavy lifting that can be done by technology and or an outsourcer. Then the question is, okay, well, do I outsource it in effect contractually, or do I outsource it to a company that does this for me? And this fits into the nice little piece of, well, there isn't any really restrictive contracts. There's no HR law. And if you hypothesize a strategy of, right, I want a receptionist, but oh my God, it's going to cost me money. Will it actually make my people more effective? We'll dip in for 3 months and find out.
Yeah.
You can't do that if you go and recruit someone, not with a solid conscience. And although you might be able to go to suppliers that do it for you, MoneyPenny do a fantastic job doing it. So that's a solution that I think you should look at. But if you want control of the individual, then obviously this solution provides that. But agents are starting to wake up to the fact that if they, in order to survive, they've got to pay better money to attract better talent. They can't do that in the current market, particularly with transactional volumes slightly declined. So if they want to reimagine their business, they're going to have to do it with suppliers, outsourcers, or in this case, a different way. And things like prospecting, social media posting, the heavy lifting that agents don't really enjoy doing anyway, or aren't very good at doing systematically and routinely. Because I have found the pride, although I take aboard the language thing is very similar, the cultural thing is similar, they are actually quite old-fashioned, which is really nice because they're proud with their job. They're expecting to be managed, and they understand that there will be expectations of them and that they're accountable to those things. Whereas a lot of the people that you can get within your budget in the UK, it's like, well, I'm doing you a favour sitting in your chair. So best you get me my healthcare, best you make sure that I have every other day off, make sure I get an hour's lunch break, make sure that you don't even say anything remotely controversial to me because I'll have you for bullying. Well, all of that's gone. These people are proud. They want to hit their targets. They're happy to be measured. They understand the pressure, and they want the job. You know, it's not just a salary. They want to work to retain the job.
Yeah, there's that.
That's largely disappeared from the very young element of the workforce who come in at the right budget. So I think it fits perfectly with the way a state agency is evolving anyway. So we wanted to have that solution. Ish was a great person to liaise with because we've worked with Prospect Engine and as with Kerfuffle, they're members of the ICG. So it just seemed like a logical step. And they found us some talent. They found you some talent. We're planning on doing 2 or 3 more now because we've proved the concept.
Yeah, and how out of the box is it? So if they have a what's the way that they learn what you have to offer? Is it literally a consultative call with yourself, and then following on from that, what does the time scale look like? Because the one thing we discover here at Kerfuffle is these days people are just so insanely busy. They want as much as possible out of the box solutions in the quickest possible time. Is this one of those that takes a while to bed down, or is it something that can work relatively quickly?
I think it depends on the job role that's required, Whaley. You know, as a rule, you know, we have a bank of fantastic curated talent that's all been vetted. So, you know, I think with Iain, I think it was 3 or 4 days from initial.
Yeah, I mean, Ish is 100% right. It depends on the complication of the role. You know, if you're wanting to have a property manager offshore, then you're going to have to do a lot more work to make sure they understand your software, your CRM, your systems, your processes, the legalities. If you want someone to create social media posts and push them out using certain values at certain times of day, well, frankly, you write them a crib sheet, and as long as they've got that in their background, our young lady was off and running in terms of candidate procuration and social media. I don't know. I'm not even sure it was 2 or 3 days. I think it's probably 2 or 3 hours, but it was very quick because she already had the skills. She just needed to know a little bit about us. Of course, she speeds up over time and she had to ask some questions, but onboarding was pretty much plug and play. It literally was, you know, you come and they go. Receptionist is plug and play. Prospecting is plug and play, apart from maybe the CRM, a little bit about how the CRM works, depending on how the data is transferred from A to B. But so most of the roles that we have found most suitable are plug and play. There are people looking at property management and aspects of sales progression. Now, I think that probably wouldn't. It's plug and play in terms of finding the candidate, but there will be a longer time between contracting them and them being able to go and just be let loose, because you don't have that advantage of them sitting next to your other.
No.
And learning through osmosis.
Yeah,
but there has to be a much more. You don't have the osmosis element. So it depends on the role. But I do know people with us that have taken these people are now looking at other roles that might be more complex to say, well, is there a hybrid between, I've got one person in the business that does it and I really need another, but I only need half. So instead of going and getting the half, I can do this. and I still get the whole, but it costs me the half. So we're seeing a bit of that now, where businesses have expanded the idea or the strategy but instead of getting that second recruit, they always want that one person in the business who's going to be responsible for onboarding anybody else. But then beyond that person, they can make the decision of whether it's a candidate that works remotely for them in the UK, whether it's a candidate that works in the office, or whether it's a candidate that's outsourced, or whether it's a supplier filling the gap. I think the days of just let's fill the gap with a recruit, I think they're gone. I think you've now got, it's not a binary decision. Do I recruit? Do I not recruit? You've now got lots of little options, and this fits perfectly into some of that space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've vetted and curated a number of sort of property professionals, if you like, that have previous property experience. Obviously, this amazing partnership with Crux. I mean, that's, you asked Iain earlier on, you know, why did this partnership come about? I mean, we've used Crux for you know, a number of years now, recruiting into Prospect Engine. I've always found the service impeccable, and it was just a natural conversation and decision really to partner with, you know, one of the best real estate industry recruiters in the UK to help champion our cause. And you know, I think Iain taking a team member from our candidate pool was, you know, a good testament to the quality of the service. But we do have you know, a lot of property professionals on board that are literally ready to be placed. They range from property lawyers to property administrators to sales staff, property managers. We also have digital marketers. And what I'm finding, especially when speaking with agents, it's about that change in mentality, as Iain mentioned earlier on. You know, if you have two negotiators and, you know, you feel like you need a third, you know, just have a think about the administrative tasks that your first two negotiators are doing on a daily basis. And, you know, if that was relieved from them, how much extra capacity would those two have to fill the, you know, the core role of a negotiator, which is, you know, being out and about and carrying out viewings and negotiating between the landlords, vendors, tenants, and buyers. And that's worked well. You know, it is a conversation to be had. It is more of a consultation, looking at what areas of your business, you know, you feel you need assistance with, and then maybe looking at how we can maybe change the role slightly to then facilitate a much more cost-effective team member to come on board and pick up the slack.
And what this is looking at, really, let's be honest, is many business owners out there watching this will know that their teams, everyone's teams, they will say are busy. But there's a big difference, isn't there, between being bad busy and being as constructive as you can be. And that element you're just talking about there, that you can relieve them of to put them in the most dollar productive roles is the critical element, isn't it? And if you can genuinely free people up, and let's be honest, most people, the good ones at least, should be really, really keen to get rid of that kind of administrative baggage to get on with the stuff they ultimately entered the industry to do properly, didn't they? You'd like to think, anyway.
I mean, why, you know, what is the perfect negotiator or the perfect valuer? It's someone that is good at face-to-face transaction and selling, and being out and about. You know, you don't recruit a valuer to make 100 phone calls to historic data each day. You know, that's maybe not their perfect skill set. So, you know, having a complementary a service, you know, a virtual team member that is geared towards that and onboarded to do that, it just makes a lot of sense. Another point that we haven't really touched on is, you know, the fact that you're bringing in an international person in the business. You know, that person has, you know, they have different experiences. They can add a different dimension or you know, a slightly different ideology to what you're currently doing. So, you know, it just fosters diversity. It fosters, you know, innovation. And I just think by having that global workforce as well, you know, it just adds another element to your business. You know, and the fact of the matter is that it's so much more cost effective. So it's a, you know, it's a real, in my opinion, it's a, you know, it's a really fantastic opportunity for both the agents and for the individuals that are being placed. I think
there's a lot of hidden benefits as well in terms of staff retention, because you know, if you just go with the third neg, you've then got the boss coming to me for consultancy saying, I just can't get these guys to do some of the stuff I want them to do, because people do what they like doing, not what you want them to do, unless you are an exceptional leader. Yep. So yes, part of my job is to help people with that leadership piece. But sometimes it's like, okay, well, what have you stopped to reimagine this and just take the stuff, stop fighting them about the stuff they don't want to do, get that done cheaply and allow them to do what they want to do and they're good at, so that your relationship with them strengthens, your attention of them increases, and your ability to attract others goes up anyway. Because, you know, if you are a salesperson and you're allowed to sell and somebody else is basically in effect, you know, putting the thing right in front of you to push the button and go and close the deal or whatever it is that you enjoy doing, that's a far sexier job for a salesperson than to constantly be told you've forgotten the initial, you didn't do this, you didn't tick that box. It's like, let someone mop up all that stuff within reason. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying for 1 minute accept substandard. But if you can get your head around the outsourcing piece in terms of the resource, the physical person, as well as another business outsourcing for you, the enjoyment of the job and the retention. I remember my performance as an individual estate agent and those around me that were in my charge took a step level change when we outsourced sales progression, in our case to ourselves. So we built a sales progression unit. There were God knows how many sales progressors. They had the one job of looking after the buyer, seller, and liaising and doing it. But I suddenly found that 25% of my time was free, as was that of the people in my charge. Now I could now direct that 25% to doing what they enjoy doing. And because they enjoy it, they do it with venom, purpose, intent, and therefore you get better results. Whereas if you're trying to point 25% of their time at doing something they absolutely hate, well, good luck.
Yeah. And Iain, you're one of the few people that probably knows the Aussie market better than myself, obviously, after my time there. But one thing you notice there is they were obviously always heralded as these, these Uber agents, these super prospecting heroes. You've got people like James Tosterman, who's been at the top of his game for 30 years. And what those guys have built up around them is they call them those EBUs, don't they? Effective business units. And really what they've done is what we've been talking about here today. They've looked at those administrative tasks, so they would have called it database management or database management, who literally looks after working those, keeping that as optimized, as the data as clean as possible. You know, I always got very frustrated in my own role because he never actually went near a computer, but he had people teeing up the calls he had to make, literally, you know, letting him know what his diary was like, and it just kept it as fiercely efficient as could do. So I'm not saying that, you know, you have to obviously always just look to Australia, but there's no surprise to me as to why that marketplace works so well. And there are definitely shades of what you and Ish are doing here that will allow people to be able to pick up those areas. If they're being really honest, they're not doing particularly well at the moment, and almost not quite overnight, but certainly within a few days, a few weeks, can solve a problem that is giving them probably sleepless nights.
Yeah, I mean, both the market budgets and the self-employed model is forcing a move, whether it's employed or not, to sort of the Australian system, which is really high caliber people backed up by good tech and other people to do the heavy lifting or the administrative pieces. Why do you want a guy that's 100,000 a year being responsible for tearing off a flimsy and stick it in a tray? Why do you want that? Why do you want you know, so it is all about efficiencies, and it allows you to attract the top guys, employed or self-employed, if a lot of that stuff they hate doing is taken care of.
Yeah.
You know, and we are seeing an evolution both in the employed and the self-employed model towards a highly effective business unit, where the face of it is the licensed agent in Australia. In our case, it's the self-employed or the employed lister and closer and the guy that does the deals. But behind them is an infrastructure of people that are excellent at doing what they do, whether it be a supplier, technology, or in this case, a resource that's from overseas. So I think we're seeing this evolution of agency anyway, because otherwise it can't retain talent. You know, if you can only earn 50,000 being an estate agent and half your job you don't enjoy, but you could earn 100,000 being a recruiter and 100% of the job you enjoy because you've got all this technology. Agency has to catch up with that piece first. Yeah. And the only way it can do it is realistically reimagine itself and look at its recruitment base. And so, do I need to recruit? Do I need to outsource? Or do I need an overseas resource? Or do I need an actual UK person that works in the office? But look at all the options and then build around, or try, test, because there's no contract, test it, try it, push the button, see what happens, what comes out the other end. There will be people from Talent Bridge that don't work out. Let's be honest, they will. But you just stop the contract. There'll be people that you recruit that won't work, and if they've been with you for more than 2 years, well, that's an issue. But they also remain within your community if you terminate them within their 2 years. So there is a liability to hiring the wrong hire that then you get rid of because their mums, dads, parents, brothers, sisters probably don't feel good about you. So there's a whole, agents have got to modernize. They've got to and the good, Simon, the elite are doing it anyway.
Yeah, this is your cheat pad to success, isn't it? I don't know if it was you, Ian. I'm going to lay the blame on you because I like to do that often. But I think you told me that I deserved to be sacked every day I was in the business for the first 10 years. And because of that, I've always had quite a excessively loyal approach to staff, even when, as we all ultimately come back to, is in your heart of hearts, you've got that gut feel. You should have made that move before. But it is really, really difficult when you've gone out there and employed them into your business. They're sat out there on a daily basis. Even when it's not working out, I can count on almost a couple of hands anyway. People like your good self, people like Peter Rawlings, who knew enough's enough. Don't let it drag on. And what I think's perfect about this is actually you can act on that gut influence, that gut feel rather there, when it's the absolute right decision, not just for the business, but actually if it's not working out as well, it's just the wrong person at the wrong time. But it severs those kind of those over emotional ties that you would otherwise have, wouldn't you? Would you agree with that, Ish?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, it's stepping away from the emotional element, just the actual onboarding process of bringing on a new team member in an office. You've got to find them office space, a desk at the very least, computing equipment and technology for them to function in their role. All of the payroll and HR and national insurance, pension contributions, etc., and then a fee, a recruitment fee if you're using a recruitment service to do that. So you've got quite a lot of outlay before you've actually onboarded or trained or have seen whether this person's the right fit for the role. And with the Talent Bridge model and with our partnership with Crux, it is a very simple, straightforward, cost-effective solution. It's a set price, everything else is covered. They're onboarded, they're ready to start, and you don't have any of the additional headache or issues that you would normally have with traditional employment. I'm not saying that you should just go out and sack all of your retained staff and bring on lots of virtuals. I think it's a complementary, and I think it will work with certain businesses better than others. We've had a lot of success with some of the smaller agents, so that the one-man band, the two-man band, the hybrid style models.
That's such an obvious one, isn't it? That's those people who literally
they're wearing so many hats. They're literally doing everything from contract production, key collections, whatever it may be that they're doing, and all the admin behind it. Yes, they'll have tech platforms and suppliers that can help and facilitate that, but having your own team member that's a cost-saving resource, certainly from a time perspective, it's been picked up and received really, really, really warmly. Another one of the which I didn't expect, actually, life's full of surprises, but I was thinking that virtual assistants, the administrative side, would probably be the main area that agents would want virtual team members for. It's not actually. It's been surrounding the digital marketing space and social media marketing. A lot of agents outsource that to agencies, and those agencies are fantastic. Not all of them, but most of them are great. But you're getting a bit of content each week, bi-weekly, whatever that may look like. And with especially someone like Zane working for you, Ian, she's got a lot of social media background experience, so she's sort of taken that role and really pushed on with it. But then she's also doing candidate sourcing for you because of that recruitment background as well. So, and it's probably costing you the same as it was outsourcing your social media marketing. So, you've brought that in-house. You're then utilizing her additional time to generate, revenue opportunities for you and placing candidates. So, you kind of get rather than it just being singular in a service, you can then plug in other things into that individual, and they can help you out in a multitude of.
I had to listen there, Ish, and I was giggling a little bit because you did say most of those outsourced, marketing consultancies are good value. That's maybe that when they come to us, they're in a very different space. But that is one of, I would say, the most consistent grumbles of agency is they can be massive money pits, can't they? And I think you can be spending as much money almost on those people more than you actually end up spending on, AdWords or the campaigns themselves. So to be able to do that inexpensively and to find and build that profile and experience with somebody who's already in that zone would be, if you can crack that, I think just on a really narrow basis, you're going to find a lot of agents deviating towards that.
Yeah, slightly less diplomatic than I was being there.
Oh, no, boys. I mean, that's my role, isn't it? Just to give us to hone it in as well. I mean, I think we've discussed so many different pain points and everything else. It's really, really clean there. But to talk about, obviously, there are, there are other similar products on the market. I mean, they're not directly, are they? And as you said, you can go outsource to obviously wonderful friends over at Moneypenny here. Are there other ones, though, in this space-ish that you can talk about? And what would you say the differences are between those?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few outsourced suppliers, and there's also people that generally stick within the virtual assistant space. I think that kind of what sets us apart. It's more of a consultative service. So you come to us, you tell us exactly what the role is and what skill sets you'd like, and then we will, if we don't have them on our books already, we'll actually go out and source and vet those candidates for you. We handle all of the HR element and all of the tech side as well. So there are, and I don't think this is a bad thing. I think the more companies that are out there shouting about this virtual outsourcing stroke VA style service, I think it's a real positive. I think especially post COVID, the adoption of this, what we're doing now, video and virtual conferencing and video tech, having someone, and a lot of people were working from home, so we're working remotely. I think now is the perfect time to be shouting about this type of service. Not only is it cost effective, and that, let's be honest here, that is one of the main factors.
Yep.
The fact that you're probably saving, depending where you are in the UK, I mean, if you're a London-based business, you're probably saving 40, 50, 60%. If you're, a more northern agent, anywhere between 20, 30, 40%. But you're actually getting
massive figures.
but you're getting double the quality. I think that's what people have to really understand, and companies should really understand, is you're getting a cost, you're saving money against a like for like, but in reality, you're probably getting someone twice as capable for that discounted rate.
You're getting more for less, aren't you, basically? Ironically, that's why a lot of the time people look at technology. Why do you go to technology? Because you're trying to do more with less. If you're able to actually partner that as well on the human side of things, and you can get the same ethos, why would you not go for it?
There's also a record number of vacancies, Simon. So we have a situation where we've got vacancies that can't be filled because the UK market is not candidate rich, but is vacancy high. And so you've got people that have got vacancies that have been there for a long time who as yet haven't reimagined that they can look at it. In reality, if you came to the vacancy that fitted, was right for this solution, and we'll soon tell you if it isn't, we'll be very honest and say, no, you've got to keep, but if it is right for this solution, you would almost have the pick of 5 or 6 very high caliber candidates within hours.
Yeah.
And those people won't get counter offered. They won't they won't resign after a week because somebody else has offered them £5,000 more. They won't be counted by the people they're leaving, and they won't have 5 different offers on the table. So, it does also solve the ability to fill fast. We're in August. A lot of agents are stretched really thin at the moment, and there's a whole number of reasons to look at it. And we certainly would be very honest to say we think that role, in our opinion, will do whatever you want us to do, but we think that's the role you should be looking at, and we think you should go with somebody UK based that's sat in your office that you can. We'll be honest on that. These are absolutely the type of things. So why don't you put both vacancies into the market and see what quality, cost, and caliber comes along, and speed?
Yeah.
Because 9 times out of 10, you'll find that this solution, the Talent Bridge solution through Crux, will get you a better candidate quicker at a lower price. Well, that's a bit of a win-win-win.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a bit of a win-win-win. It is a win-win-win.
It is a win-win-win. Yeah. So let's just summarise these as USPs then, if it's okay. I'll ask Ish first of all, Iain, and then I'll ask you. And it would be nice if you could kind of reinforce them, or at least not say that's not my experience. If there were 3 completely different USPs, of course, then we've doubled up. What would you say then, Ish, is the 3 main USPs for coming to a solution like Talent Bridge?
Speed and effective onboarding. So, candidates curated very, very quickly, onboarded quickly, placed quickly, and then trained to the company or agent that we're placing with standards and and procedures, all done within in-house. I think the second big thing is the quality and cost.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're getting, in essence, a much higher caliber team member than you would in the UK for a like-for-like sort of cost, and the fact that it is so flexible. You're got a minimum contract term of 1 month with a 1 month notice period thereafter. So it is very quick to upscale or downscale depending on market conditions.
Yeah.
And for the sides, from the employee side, it's the fact that we're giving people opportunity to grow and thrive in a much more developed economy in the UK. And as Iain alluded to earlier on, it is like working with team members from 20, 30 years ago. The passion, the drive, the commitment, the fact that they're working for a UK business. I could read some of the messages that I get once we place, and it's so heartwarming that they absolutely adore the opportunity. And you when people are so thankful, you end up getting the best of them in every way. So I'd say that's the.
And just before I bounce over to Iain, you've said it a couple of times, but just to reiterate, this is a solution that is already being used by UK agents here at the moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So there's what I was trying to get at there is sometimes we have to be a bit honest and say, look, you are going to be a guinea pig, but we're way beyond that stage. As I said, I mean, even Lauren, who worked with us, she couldn't have picked it up any quicker, to be honest. But that was a few months ago now. She've obviously had that pool of talent out there working in this field, and that's the other thing, isn't it, Ish? As you get more and more of these people on board, they're going to only get even more specialised and knowledgeable about the UK market itself, isn't it? So now's the time to get on board.
And I mean, we're fortunate that the type of model that we've built, has many verticals outside of estate agency and prop tech, if you like. And I mean, we just placed 3 paralegals with a firm of solicitors in the UK last week. So it can be really specific and bespoke what type of talent or what
was that to do? Was that to send faxes? Was it? Is that their job? Or
that's right? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible actually the quality of staff that we can find out in South Africa. We had. Recently, we had the lead prosecutor for one of the best municipalities in South Africa join the team, and she was a business consultant. She was the lead prosecutor. She had her own practice. She's actually relocating out of South Africa, so she's given the practice up, and she wanted a flexible role that she could do virtually. And the price point on that would be the same as a quality negotiator in the UK. So it is it's unbelievable actually the quality of staff that you can get for such a cost-effective price.
And Iain, would you concur with that? Were those USPs the same ones you'd pick? Would you have focused in a different area?
Oh, I would certainly concur with them. I think my main focus would be, I mean, this is a Peter Knight-ism, but it's a very pleasant unintended consequence is if you give the people you've got the support they need to do the jobs they don't really want to do or don't do very well, then you'll retain them. And the retention of your existing people is obviously a massive benefit. And the attraction of others. So the simple ability by, for example, the pod system, right? You're going to come and list, and I'm going to give you an administrator, I'm going to give you a social media marketeer, and I'm going to give you a receptionist, and all you've got to do is list, and I'm going to give you some technology. That's where this is going. So the attraction and retention of good people in the first place is a really good consequence of having this resource. The second is it removes the friction between you and trying to get them to do this stuff that they don't want to do, which is a great advantage. And thirdly, you can't overlook the talent, quality, cost triangle, because there is apart from if you really need the person sat next to you, there's very little business argument to suggest that you don't go with the higher caliber, lower cost, more proud to do their job person who is specific to a role. You'd have to fight me a long way to prove the business argument.
You'd have to be mentally, and if you can say that even more, wouldn't you? If you weren't going to take advantage of that. I've never worried about saying the wrong thing. Okay, cool. So it's almost like a bit of it feels like a bit of a Mickey take, but obviously that's my job here is to deliver some extra value. You guys have been really, really helpful as well. Just to take away even more of a blocker away from this, you're going to, I believe, you'd be kind enough to say that you're going to give a 10% discount to those Kerfuffle members who come to us. Make sure you come to us direct, guys. Get that code for it. 10% off that first month fee, whatever role they're going to go for. Is that right?
That's right, Whaley. Absolutely. And look, I'd just like to urge any Kerfuffle members, just pick up the phone either to Iain or myself to, discuss our service and let us show you some of the candidates that we have. I'm sure that once you do see how good they really are, it'll be an easy decision.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, make sure you go to obviously the landing pages on kerfuffle.com as well, and we'll obviously start getting the feedback from the happy clients on the back of that. And there's contact us forms on there and everything else. Otherwise, these two, they're all over social media, and you can come via me at simon@kerfuffle.com as well. For today, gents, I think that's been a really, really useful overview for what is, I mean, it's a perennial challenge, isn't it? And this just feels like another really useful option to have in your kit bag. Whereas it could be, a much more difficult choice looking at those other, dare I say, more traditional methods.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
come to Kerfuffle. I should have said come to Kerfuffle, not me, not
I saw what you were doing, Ish. I bounced them back again. That's okay, guys. Iain, Ish, thank you very much for that. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Ish. Speak to you soon, boys.
Cheers, guys.
Bye. Bye.